My name's Susan Reardon. I'm the staff hearing officer, and I call the meeting of Wednesday, December 5th to order. Today we have 2 items on our agenda, and I haven't received any requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or any additions of ex-agenda items. So we will hear the items in the order that they appear on the agenda. The next one's under announcements and appeals. I don't have any announcements, and we've had no recent appeals. So I'll move on to comments from members in the audience on items not on today's agenda. Is there anyone who would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on today's agenda? Oh, seeing no one, we'll go to the first item, which is 927 East Haley Street, if the applicant would like to come up to the table.
Good morning.
Good morning. Anytime you're ready, Stephanie.
So, good morning. So today we're here to talk about an interior setback modification to allow an as-built deck to remain on the site within the western interior setback. The existing 5,906 square foot R2 zone lot is outlined here in pink, and the setbacks are shown in purple. And it's currently developed with a 1-story single-family residence and a detached 1-car garage. There's also an as-built storage room at the back of the garage that's proposed for demolition, and an as-built deck at the back of the house that is subject to this modification request. The house was originally constructed with a 5-foot setback, which was applicable at the time of its construction. However, now a 6-foot setback is applicable, so the house is considered non-conforming. The project includes abating all violations that are listed in ENF 2014-00684, which includes the demolition of that as-built storage structure at the back of the garage and a canopy on the deck. Landscaping improvements are proposed in the rear yard, and then also legalizing the as-built deck and a water heater shed. That's on the back of the house right there. The project is exempt from design review by the Single Family Design Board. And in general, staff is supportive of this interior setback request because the deck extension is in line with the existing building. It is no more non-conforming than the existing building. The majority of the encroachment that we're really talking about is for the railing. So it's a little tough to see because it's a very minor space, but just the orange is the area within the setback, and approximately half of that is the railing for the deck. So staff doesn't consider this to be a large gathering space or a concern about noise and privacy for the most immediate neighbors. And finally, the applicant also submitted a noise study for the water heater, confirming that it meets the noise thresholds of 53 decibels at the interior property line. This project is exempt from CEQA under categorical exemptions 15301 and 15305. Staff does recommend a standard condition of approval related to the unlikely discovery of archaeological resources based on ARC reports that are on file in the area. The urban historian reviewed the project since this project site is within the demolition review study area. However, the existing residence is not historic and there are no anticipated impacts to any designated historic resources. And finally, staff has received no inquiries about the project from the public via emails, letters, phone calls, or public inquiries at the counter.
Great, thank you. I just want one confirmation regarding the water heater. It's not subject to this modification, right? It's just the deck portion and railing.
So the shed of the water heater is about an inch into the setback, but the noise study does call out, I believe it was, I can actually confirm that right.
Yeah, I remember reading it. It was low. It was.
Yeah, I think I have.
Hold on one moment. The water heater cabinet is located approximately 5 feet from the closest property line. As drawn, it's about an inch into the setback.
Okay. So that's maybe from the fence line?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. Would you like to state your name for the record and provide additional comments?
Kirsty Bailey.
Is that with a K-R-I-S or C-H?
K-I-R STI, and Bailey is BAYLY.
Thank you. Would you like to add any more comments?
No, this is all I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the staff hearing officer on 927 East Haley Street? Seeing no one. Heidi, we've received no emails this morning. Okay, great, thank you. I'll close the public hearing. I did go out to the site and walked around the site and looked at it and the neighborhood. And I agree with staff's assessment in terms of there's very minor potential adverse effects to the adjacent neighbor due to the location of the deck. It's not a huge location or encroachment, and as indicated in the staff report, the majority of it is the railing. The main use of the deck is out towards the back, which is outside of the open yard area as well as outside of the setback. So it is an appropriate improvement, and like Stephanie said, it represents an extension of the building line, although it's not actual habitable square footage. It does make a uniform type improvement. So I can approve the project, making the findings outlined in the staff report, and subject to the one condition of approval. I don't need to add any additional conditions of approval to ensure that the project would be consistent with zoning. So it'll just be that one condition of approval. My action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days, and they also have oversight authority of all my actions, and if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day review period, and if either of those would happen, Stephanie would contact you.
Okay.
Okay?
Good.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to the next item, which is 916 Roble. 816 Roble Lane. Good morning.
Good morning.
She has hers nicely coded.
I've got coordinated flipping with my script here.
Okay, sure. All right, thanks. Anytime you're ready, sorry. Yes.
Good morning. So with this project, we are actually talking about 4 modifications to accomplish changing the overall architectural style with minimal square footage additions. We would be talking about a front setback modification, an interior setback modification on the eastern side of the lot, an interior setback modification on the western side of the lot, and an open yard modification to allow a reduction in the non-conforming open yard. So we would be talking about, this is the existing house, and it's this streamlined, more modern style. And the goal of the project is to change it to more of the Spanish Mediterranean style as seen in this rendering here. So, the 6,479 square foot RS15 zone lot is outlined here in pink, with the setbacks shown in purple. And it's currently developed with a 3-story single-family residence and attached 2-car garage. Okay. The project includes abating a violation listed in ZIR 2018-00148 by removing an unpermitted fire pit that is on the 2nd floor, demolition of rounded support columns and construction of small additions to create rectilinear instead of rounded corners, demolition of an as-built addition at the rear of the house that's in the setback, it's right there, and replacing an air conditioning unit that's in the interior setback over here. The project was reviewed by the Single Family Design Board on June 25th, 2018, and received positive comments. The existing development is non-conforming to FAR requirements. 85% of the maximum FAR is allowed in this area on a lot of the size and slope, and the current house is 124% of the maximum FAR. However, Title 30 does allow for a one-time addition of less than 100 square feet without an FAR modification, and this project would be utilizing that one-time exception. So any future additions would require an FAR modification. Proposed ground. So a reduced front setback, 25 feet instead of 30, is applicable in this case due to the slope of the lot, and that was confirmed with a pre-case that development review staff reviewed. In the front setback, we are looking at changes to an existing staircase. It's currently rounded, and this would be more rectilinear, and it would actually be pulled back farther from the front lot line, so it's less of an encroachment distance-wise. And there's also changes to a column here. There's currently a rounded corner here, and so it would be rectilinear and in the setback here. So staff is supportive of these two changes due to the existing staircase. Changes to the existing staircase will reduce the encroachment, both in terms of square footage and distance into the setback. There are no adverse impacts to the driveway anticipated because the stair is being pulled back more, giving more vehicular access to the site. The column change is a really negligible encroachment with only 4 square feet encroaching into the setback. And also, there are changes on the 3rd floor deck, which are shown.
This is open yard.
Yeah. Here within the front setback. So right now there's an existing 9 square foot encroachment. So we're popping out a little bit. So it's 23 square feet gross, but only 6 square feet of that, this area right there, is actually habitable. Most of it is the wall of that deck line. Okay, got to jump back to the proposed ground. In regards to the interior setbacks, on the eastern side, we're looking at another round to rectilinear column mirroring the one that has a front setback encroachment. This one has an interior setback encroachment of 0.15 square feet gross into the setback. On the second level, in the eastern setback, we have another small addition here to make this corner rectilinear, and that's another 4 square feet into the setback. On the western side, there's a small addition on the 3rd floor right here that would result in a 5 square foot encroachment into the western interior setback. Staff is supportive of all of these encroachments due to the incredibly minor nature of these encroachments. No habitable space is included in these additions. They're wall space that's in the setback, and there are no new windows being proposed, and only 6 square feet of habitable area is over here, but it's outside the setback. With the interior setback, please note on the cover sheet we have some noise specs that show the proposed AC unit would be compliant at a 10-foot distance with 52 decibels. 53 is allowable. However, the proposed unit is proposed to be 7 foot 6 feet from the interior property line, which would make it slightly out of conformance at 54.5 decibels. So staff does recommend an additional condition of approval to either move the unit to be 9 feet away so it would be compliant with the 53 decibel standard, to change the unit to be slightly quieter, or to install some kind of sound blanket or some kind of sound reduction mechanism on the unit. For open yard, currently 1,478 square feet is provided in 2 areas on the lot. The proposed open yard would be 1,433 square feet in these same 2 areas. So on the 2nd floor, we have access over here, in this room here, And on the third floor, off of the main living area here, all of this rear yard in the back. So because of these little pop-outs, there is a slight reduction in the open yard. So staff is supportive of these encroachments due to the minimum square footage, which is 1,250 square feet, still being met, and the reduction wouldn't allow these open yard areas to lose their function, and they would remain open for outdoor living spaces. They would just have rectilinear edges instead of the currently rounded edges. So the project is exempt from CEQA under categorical exemptions 15301 and 15305. The project is located in the demolition review study area. However, it's not old enough to be considered a historic resource yet. The project is Tier 2 because it's in the Hillside Design District, and no more than 500 square feet of impervious surfaces are proposed. And I did receive one call this morning from a neighbor, and I believe she is here now.
Okay, great.
But other than that, no contact from the public.
So then on page 6, then I think it's a typo under open yard here where it says open yard totaling 1,478 square feet is currently provided in 2 areas. Mm-hmm. And then the next sentence, it concludes, said the proposed open yard would be decreased 45 square feet of additions on the second, third floor, leaving 1,000 square feet. So it's 1,443 then?
Yes. I apologize. Oh, the 1,003 is the proposed upper, not the total.
Okay, so then adding the 2 together.
Yeah, it's 1,433.
Okay, all right, thank you. Would you like to state your name for the record and provide additional comments?
Sure, please. My name is Mark Kirkhart, Principal Design Architects, and we're project architects, obviously, and
George Mansour, designer.
Okay.
At designer.
Okay.
so, yeah. So as staff pointed out already, these are extremely minor requests in terms of modifications, and they are 100% driven by the desire to make a significant transformation of that residence. As she also stated, we've already been to the single-family design board, and it was very I would call it enthusiastically endorsed in terms of the design direction. So if you look at the original floor plan, one more, I think. It's kind of best shown on this diagram. So these round circular columns here are a big aspect of the existing design, and as well the floor plans were kind of jogged behind those in order to kind of set them off from the architecture for whatever reason. So almost all of these requests are because we are taking that inside corner, we're removing that inside corner, which is a very kind of modern approach, and in an effort to bring this into kind of a Santa Barbara Spanish colonial revival, we wanted to just square off the rooms to get the building, to basically get them orthogonal, as staff has mentioned. So in many cases, these actual round columns were actually encroaching into the setback anyway. The circular stair that comes down is already, as she pointed out, actually encroaches more into the front yard setback than our revised plan. So, we feel that it's a very reasonable and appropriate request to have these incredibly minor, as was pointed out also, minor adjustments basically to the setbacks. We're not really trying to gain any new square footage particularly. We're just trying to fix the architecture, and we're kind of locked in by the location of the walls. So that's why we feel it's an appropriate request. Also, the site plan that shows the adjacent residences. Pardon me. Oops, sorry. One of the, I think, over the years, one of the best supporting comments for allowing modifications to setback is that other properties in the neighborhood all over the Riviera enjoy setback modifications, including the neighbor right here directly to the east that is currently about 3 feet away from the property line, and the neighbor to the west, which is, arguably somewhere 1 or 2 feet away. So other properties in the immediate neighborhood enjoy a further use of their property with reduced setbacks, whether they're non-conforming or legal or whatever. So I just feel that this request is absolutely a reasonable request and urge your approval.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't have any comments for you right now. Stephanie addressed, I had one with the air conditioning unit, but you addressed that one. Okay, so I'd like to open the public hearing. I have one request to speak from Janine Palumbo. If you'd like to come up to the table. I don't know if you mind if she just...
Let her use a chair, yeah.
Yeah, and then if you want to just turn on the button there, yeah. Yes. So you have 2 minutes.
Hi.
Hi.
Unfortunately, we weren't here in June, so we missed the first meeting with single-family house. We're the neighbor on the west side.
Okay.
And our house was built in '57. The house on the southern side was built in the '30s or the '20s, so it wasn't an issue at that time. When David Reed bought this lot, he bought it from the old man next door. I'm going to talk fast. And it was a difficult lot to build out. Don Sharp designed the house, and it went through a lot of zoning issues to get it to this, what it is now. And we lived through that. It was 7 years in construction, and it was always kind of an unusual house. So I think the new design is excellent. Mm-hmm. But the construction and the amount of time that's going to be involved from a neighbor that's as close as we are is difficult to deal with. So 3 real quick issues is all we're concerned about is what it says in the new Good Neighbor Guidelines and Tips to be observant and aware of your neighbor's views. And whether or not this is the first time we've seen the plans because we were out of town. It looks like they've cut back that corner closest to us, which would be great if I'm seeing it right. This corner here on the original deck is going
On
back.
this side.
We're here, but this is where are we here? Oh, you're right.
Here's
this
this-
corner here. Is this coming back, Mark? Okay, that's great because this house has been a rental for several years. And when the dog was out on this porch and we went out on our porch, the dog thought we were on their property, and it was horrific having, the dog barking at us and ruining our peace of mind. A. B, the air conditioner, if you could move it anywhere other than by our kitchen window, when that runs, this house has got a big solar panel or a skylight on the top, so it's a hot house. The sun comes directly into it. So I thought maybe that would be modified. Is that going to be removed?
We can study the location of the AC condenser.
Yeah,
but
that-
I would like to speak to the skylight. That's
Yeah.
actually.
Would just talk to
being-
me. Talk
Okay,
to
okay,
me.
I'm sorry.
Thank
So
you.
anyway, the air conditioner runs a lot. So it's just, I have to keep that whole side of the house closed up because it's a run. We don't have air conditioning. I've got small units. So that would be something I'd like you to think about, Susan. And that staircase, that orange staircase there, that was added following the construction of this home. I'm almost dead certain, I'd have to look at the old plans, but that was not an existing staircase on the original plan. It was added by there's had about 3 owners so far since it was finally finished by David Reed in the 90s. So that's about it. But I think the design's lovely. I'm bummed that I've got construction across the street now that we haven't been able to stay in our house all summer, except at night. And now we're going to have construction next door. But Gary's a nice man. I'm happy that he's got a great project, but it's been hell living on Roble Lane with trucks and dirt and noise, jackhammering, awful. It's just been horrible. So
First time since
Wait,
1980.
excuse me. You need to fill a request for speaking, and then I can let you speak afterwards.
that's okay. So that's all we're saying is, if we can keep the construction noise and time down, maybe get me some Bose headsets. It's miserable. It is just miserable having construction so close, and we just are going through it across the street
Okay,
with the
great.
Bell property. So.
All right,
Excuse me,
thank
I
you.
just want to say, do we know when the construction's going to start?
Can you state your name for the record
Mike
and then fill out?
Palumbo.
Okay. Thank you.
I just want to know that.
Okay, we don't have dialogue back and forth. You're addressing me, the comments to me, and then we'll.
Yeah, Susan's working on the modifications on this portion.
Mike Palumbo?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to address the staff hearing officer? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing. So I don't know, or Stephanie, if you wanted to address any of the comments that were brought up during the public hearing, and then I can give the applicant time to respond to?
Sure. In regards to the air conditioning unit, we did add a condition during the hearing just now about either relocating the unit so that it's farther away and meets the noise threshold, or that it will be modified in some way so that it will be quieter. So one way or another, it will meet the noise threshold of 53 decibels at the property line, which is our standard in the noise ordinance. With regard to the deck, the deck is being modified slightly, so your view should be improved theoretically. However, private views are not protected by the city and aren't subject to the modification request. And the third, construction hours. The building department does have standard construction hours.
Thanks, Stephanie.
They are standard.
Okay. Would you like to respond?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it is a new air conditioning unit, and we are going to be moving it and making sure that it meets the current city standards. And as well, we are proposing to remove the big skylight that's over the top of the stair, which is a giant heat generator. So it should, we understand the concerns, and he doesn't want to have a air conditioner that has to run all the time either. So we are taking those measures in order to hopefully improve the quality of life up there.
Okay, that's great, thank you. So I closed the public hearing. I did go out to the site and walked around the property. I wasn't able to get in the rear yard area, but I could see through aerials and the photos that were submitted to get an idea of the open yard that's existing. And as noted in the staff report, the amount of encroachment and reduction into that open yard area is minimal. It won't reduce the functionality or the usability of those areas. So the remaining open yard area still meets the purposes and intent of the requirements for the open yard area in terms of providing areas outside for the residents to recreate, and also separation between the buildings and the uses. In regards to the setbacks, I'll start with the interior yard setbacks first. For the east interior setback, well, I don't know if I really need to break them down separately. The interior setbacks encroachments, they're truly minor. They're encompassing building walls. In this case, I think this is more of a technicality, if you would say, because it's just the wall. It's necessary to square out the area. So the addition in the setback of the walls and no new openings, that continues to further the purposes and intent of the setbacks to provide the separation between the buildings, privacy, noise, that kind of instance. In regards to the front setback encroachment, whether the existing stairway was original or not, it encroaches now, and it's shown on archive plans, and so it was permitted as an encroachment into the setback. In order to get to your house, you need some kind of stairway, given the grade of the property. It needs to have some kind of entranceway, and again, because of the grade, you have code requirements in terms of the rise and that kind of thing. So you are limited where you can put your entrance to the residence based on existing layout and the slope in the driveway and all that. So in terms of what you're proposing in the front setback with the redesigned stairway, that too is consistent with the zoning ordinance. The addition of the steps doesn't significantly affect the visual openness of the street from the public right-of-way, and it's reducing the amount of encroachment. So in regards to the front setback modification, that too is consistent with the purpose and intent on the zoning ordinance and wouldn't cause a negative impact to the neighborhood. And also, the modifications are necessary to actually improve the architecture of the building and make it more Santa Barbara. So I think what you're proposing in terms of your encroachments are modest, and you're not asking for a significant increase. As Stephanie said, you could ask up to a 100 square foot addition, being you're already over the FAR and you're well below that. So I can make the findings outlined in the staff report and add that additional condition regarding the air conditioning unit, that it needs to be in compliance with the noise ordinance. And I'll leave it up to how that is achieved, whether it's relocated or another different unit picked out, or whether further sound stuff's interested or necessary, so I don't tie your hands on how you meet the requirements. So with that, I will make the findings outlined in the staff report and approve your project subject to that new condition of approval. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those would occur, Stephanie would contact you. Okay?
Very good.
Great. I adjourn the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.